Why do you have metrics for everything?
The thing about metrics that you mentioned, see, we are not creating a college project saying, we'll work together for 3 months and then we'll get some marks and then we'll go, right? Or we'll sell out the company to somebody else and then we are done. We don't care about what happened to the company. We are trying to build a system where millions of entrepreneurs are going to build their own business on top of, right? And those people have to be dependent on the system, so the system has to survive forever. Okay. Now, if I have to, take ownership of that system, it cannot be something random. Okay. It cannot be something that is not measured, right? And system in terms of the product, systems in terms of how the product gets discovered and how the product gets monetized, right? If we have to survive for a very, very long time, it has to be through systems. Okay. And systems will run only when it is measured.
Yeah.
Okay. Measurement is important, so at least the manager and the person, like manager as in the person responsible for it and the person doing it, they are aligned on a common metric. Otherwise, the chaos that a startup has, I'll ask you to do certain thing today, and then tomorrow I'll ask you to do something else, right? And then at the end of the month, you're like, what did I do, right? So just so that we can align on a common task with a common goal, it is important to measure that goal, right? And when we measure that goal, we want to also create motivations around it. So we incentivize people on hitting that goal, right? And we've seen that drastic change. There have been cases where a certain department did not have any metrics, right? Our QA department, for example, did not have any metrics for the first 3 years of the company. Suddenly, when we introduced the metric, right, saying we're just going to see what complexity of tasks you are testing, right? And that suddenly improved a lot of people because people knew that this is where I have to run. Otherwise, the QA team can be running in all directions, right? So similarly for support team, right? Getting the answer right is more important. Getting the answer fast is also important, right? So that is how we measure the support team, right? I'll give you another example, right? Our branding team, for example, the team that you are part of, we have not been able to measure it. And that is why we keep iterating on that team every few months, saying, we increase the expenditure for that team. And then after a few months, we're decreasing again, saying, okay, there's no output, so maybe we should. The point is, we don't know how to measure it, right? The fact that you've defined a metric, you understand what you want the outcome out of it, right? If I say, define the metric saying, we are going to post reels on Instagram and then we'll get, say, 1 million views, if that's my metric. Does that truly align with what we want to get as an outcome for the company? Yeah. No. Right. I don't, because 1 million views may not mean anything. This could be spam or something, right? If I want to say that, okay, reels should be shared enough, right? And I think that is a perfect metric, saying, if the reels is shared by 10,000 people, at least 10,000 people agree to what we were saying, right? So if we don't measure it, it's like, again, 5-year-olds creating an elephant, and one kid could make an elephant of a rainbow color, and I'll still need to clap because, oh, great effort, right? But that is not how systems are made. Systems are made only when it is measured, so that I can continue justifying why I am investing in this direction. Like, if there is no measurement, I will start questioning, saying, why did I even hire this guy, right? I start judging people on their most recent action, right? Somebody could be very valuable for the company, but because their actions are not measured, their outcomes are not measured, I could say, oh, this guy doesn't talk properly, maybe I should let him go. Maybe this guy doesn't align with the other person, I should let him go. All those decisions will stop because now everybody is measured on their outcome, right? And as long as they can play along, there is space for them in the team. Once you start getting measured, the game becomes more fun. It's like when you go to play badminton, right? Initially, you're just rallying with your friend, right? And then you get exhausted and then say, chalo, points count karte, ab khelte hain, right? So the game starts when you start keeping score. And the score for the company is probably revenue or how many customers we are serving, but the score for each individual department has to also be measured, right? And I would go to the extent of calling a manager lazy if they cannot define a matrix for the department and they cannot measure it week on week or day on day, right? Okay. Because that is their job, saying, is it aligned, is it aligned, is it aligned, right? And when it is aligned, it will run very, very fast. So it is important. I think, what is 14 counts of measurement till now?
Measurably exhausted.